All right, brothers, today I wanted to give you the most bullish charts in all of Bitcoin so you can have a maximum dose of hopium. So let's see if Bitcoin is about to go absolutely parabolic or if this is a bull trap. For the first chart, Mr. Crypto on X says Bitcoin is entering another parabolic phase. History will repeat. And according to this chart, it does kind of look like history is about to repeat itself, with us breaking out of this trading channel here, bouncing off of the previous all time high. And it looks like if this does hold, then we might actually be headed, according to this chart, to about $340,000. I don't think it's going to make it that high personally, but maybe we're going to be seeing some parabolic price action in the next couple of months. This one's actually pretty interesting. From Bitcoin News, it says this is kind of crazy. It looks like the Bitcoin exchange balance has been dropping off of a cliff, and usually, whenever people are taking their crypto off of exchanges, that means that they're not getting ready to sell it anytime soon, and usually the price action does follow, but to the upside. As you can see, it's not always exactly one to one. Over here, the exchange balance was going up, and so was the price, but it did indicate that a bear market was on the way. And then, whenever it started to drop off again, then the market started to head back to the upside there. What is interesting is that it looks like we haven't really seen it drop off like this ever, actually. We've seen some pretty sharp declines, but usually it does have some kind of a bounce. And in this situation, it looks like it's just going to zero. So if the exchange balances go all the way down infinitely, then maybe the price will go up infinitely. Who knows? This one I think we should take with a little bit of a grain of salt because it's not a very long chart, actually, and it does show that according to Altcoin Daily, this is the craziest chart in all of crypto. If true, Bitcoin is going to hit $220,000 by July. The green and red bars are obviously the Bitcoin price, and the yellow bar, or the yellow line, is the M2 money supply, offset by about 90 days. And it does look like they're pretty correlated according to this chart, with the M2 money supply being skyrocketing in recent weeks. So maybe if this correlation does hold, then Bitcoin is going to be seeing some kind of a parabolic run way above any price target that I've mentioned in the past. But I actually went and did a little bit of research on this chart myself, and as you can see, it does follow pretty much for the last few months. And if you do take a screenshot of this little bit of an area right here, starting back in probably about November, then it does look highly correlated, or even all the way back here in February. But if you just scroll back a little bit, you can see that they don't really stick together for all that long. And the M2 money supply has soared way above and way below the Bitcoin price. But if you go here and look at the long term trend, with the M2 money supply being indicated by this blue line and the price of Bitcoin being indicated by this white line, they do pretty much follow each other. And right now, the M2 money supply is headed to the upside, while Bitcoin has recently seen a bit of a cool off. So I do think that as long as the M2 money supply continues to the upside, then probably Bitcoin will as well, because Bitcoin is just a function of the devaluation of the dollar and everybody trying to scramble to get their money out of a rapidly devaluing currency. So yeah, I do think that these charts will continue to follow each other, but they're not going to match one to one exactly. And this post by Altcoin Daily is a pretty limited data set, so I think that it's probably not going to make it as high as he's indicating, but it could be an indication that we're going to be seeing Bitcoin break above its previous all-time high, and maybe it can make it somewhere up here above about maybe $120,000 or so. In my opinion, I still think that $120,000 is probably going to be pretty close to the top of this bull market, because if you go back and look at the historical returns on a logarithmic chart, you can pretty much see that the tops of the markets have been reaching a little bit of a ceiling whenever it hits this curved descending resistance line, which has been in place since the beginning of Bitcoin's history. And we do have diminishing returns, so honestly, I don't think it's going to make it as high as a lot of people are predicting, but we could still have some upside to go before the 4 year cycle, or the top of the 4 year cycle, actually ends, which is probably going to be coming in somewhere around the fourth quarter of this year. As I've mentioned in a previous video, this kind of looks like it was a descending wedge, and how you tell the price target for one of these is that you take the height of the wedge and then extend it to the breakout point, which will give us a short-term price target of probably around $102,000 or $103,000. And we could see some kind of a short-term sell-off or a correction here in the meantime, but I think in the short term, probably at the minimum, we're going to hopefully make it to that price target there. However, if you zoom out just a little bit, you can see that we still have this cup and handle formation in play, and this is a long-term formation, so it's going to take a little bit of time for it to play out. But how you tell the price target for one of these is that you take the height of the actual cup itself and then extend it from the breakout point on the handle, and that would give us a price target of about $120,000 or so, which perfectly coincides with that ascending curved resistance line that's been in place since the beginning of Bitcoin history. Also, this chart I've showed you in the past, and I borrowed it from Fiboswani over on X as well. And he's placed these arches here, which are basically just fractals of each other, and they go from the high to the high of every single market, which indicates that we probably are going to be seeing the high of this market be around October. He says October 1st, and he got to this number by basically just measuring each one of the highs to the highs and then averaging the number of days that it took, and then extending that to the next cycle and then the next cycle. This also perfectly coincides with this green line that I've had here for a while, which is where I think that the top of the 4-year cycle is probably going to be concluding. So if the 4-year cycles are still intact, then we definitely could have some upside to go between now and then. But honestly, I still think that $120,000 is going to be around the price target that we're looking for. And that's if this doesn't end up being a bull trap with us getting rejected at this previous level of support that is now going to be resistance and then making a lower low. Basically, I do think that we're probably going to be seeing some kind of resistance here at this previous level of support. And then we might have a bit of a cool off here in the next couple of weeks before finding a floor, maybe around $87,000, which is this short-term level of resistance that we encountered recently. And then if we can actually put in a higher low at those levels, then maybe this is going to continue up to that price target that I'm hoping for. But if it breaks down below there and starts putting in some more lower lows, then I would say that that's basically the last confirmation we're looking for to see that the bear market has actually started and maybe the 4-year cycles are broken. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Is the 4-year cycle still intact, and do we have some upside to go still? And what is the price target and the date that it's going to end on? Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Most importantly, don't forget to do only good every day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.